And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Junk Art. Now, Junk Art is the second game from Pretzel Games. Pretzel Games is kind of a spin-off of like a sister company to Z-Man Games, and their games so far have been dexterity games. The first game, like I said, was Flick 'em Up. Flick 'em Up is a Western-style game, and when I played that, I just was in love with it. It's still my collection. I really liked it a lot. The second game here, called Junk Art, which is a stacking game where you're putting pieces on. When I saw this one, I was much more hesitant. The idea of flicking discs and knocking cowboys over, fascinating to me. The idea of stacking things, well, I'm like, well, I've seen these games before where you go to the craft store and you buy a bunch of blocks and then you stack them. How is this one any different? However, the designers of the game, Jay Cormier and Sen-Foong Lim, have done some excellent style games, so I was willing to give it a chance. Let's see what I think. There are 15 different pieces that come in 4 different colors. So you see there's green, orange, gray, and blue. And the pieces are all different shapes. They look like things you get from the craft store. But you'll notice as time goes by how the different shapes work together, how different pieces tend to slide and fit together. A lot of thought was put into these pieces so that they can fit together. Each player is going to get a base. And for each piece in the game, there are cards that match those pieces. You can see this one here shows the blue flower pot, the blue donut, the orange stick. There's a number on it that basically how difficult that piece is to put onto the base. You're going to shuffle some cards for a world tour, and you're going to have 3 of these that you're going to go through, and each one is going to change the rules for the game. Players are trying to get fans, 1 and 5 fans. These are essentially points. So the basic game, the one that you start out by playing, is each player is going to have 4 cards. And on your turn, you pick 2 cards. And you give them to the person on your left or right. You can switch the direction the play order goes in. And you'll draw the 2 pieces that match those 2. So here, for example, I have the green ball and the long gray stick. That person will pick one of those that they're going to use, and you get the leftover one. And when you do it, you're going to simply hold your base with one hand, or you don't have to. You can use this and you can put this piece on your base or on a piece that's on your base. When you're adding another piece to the base, you can, put it on top like that. You can even move it. You can move pieces, but you don't ever want to knock them off. So I can maybe put it like this. I don't know how I'm going to put any more pieces on top of here, but as you can see, everything is possible. Now, when pieces fall off, you're going to place them in front of you. Now, in the basic game, every time you have a piece that's the same color touch another piece of that color, you get a fan. If you have a piece that's the same type, touch another piece of the same type, you get a fan also. So it's possible to get multiple fans. No fan here, but there's a fan. You're also trying to get the tallest tower. And in fact, the game comes with a little measuring piece that can help you figure out which tower is the tallest. So players are going to take turns putting these cards out, and once someone has knocked 5 pieces off, then you measure all the towers, and the tallest tower gets 5 fans, the second tallest gets 3 fans. Players also lose a fan for each piece they knocked off. Now that's the base game. Each other game can be completely different. In one game, each player gets all the pieces of a color, and you flip a card over, and everyone has to find that piece and put it on their tower. In another game, players are all going to play a card from their hand, and whoever plays the highest number is going to take each card and give one card to themselves, the other card to everybody else, and those are the pieces that you have to put on. And you're simply trying to get the highest one. Sometimes there's one where there's 10 cards in front of you. You flip over the top card each time, and everyone's flipping over the card at the same time, and you have to hurry and find that piece in the middle and put it on your base and shout done. The last person to shout done doesn't get it on. And then again, you're trying to get the highest one. Sometimes you put 2 bases together, and everybody is going to be drawing cards from the pile one at a time and simply building one giant structure in the middle. There's a drafting game. There's many different games. In fact, there's even one game that adds the cards from, these are pieces for Flick 'em Up. So if you have Flick 'em Up, it's kind of like a crossover game where you'll be flicking and trying to destroy other people's towers. So after you play through a certain number of cities, and you can add or subtract cities depending on how many people are playing, or how long you want the game to be. Whoever has the most fans is the winner of the game. Guys, this game really has blown me away. I'm really surprised how they managed to take this concept of stacking these craft store pieces and make it into an excellent, fun game. There's a couple reasons for that. One of the reasons is the pieces themselves. I'm really impressed with these pieces are just chosen well, that somehow they fit together, somehow they present you with a challenge, a hard way to put pieces on, and yet they work together. When I interviewed them and talked about this, they really have put a lot of thought in this. They started with a huge amount of pieces and whittled it down to these 15 pieces. And folks, they did an excellent job. I'm very impressed with that. The pieces also look good. The 4 colors, the green, orange, blue, gray, they're a nice offshoot of, it's not your typical red, yellow, blue, green, but it looks good. When you form the stuff, it actually looks like what is arguably works of art. Yes, I'll get flamed maybe for that one. But anyhow, that is neat. And every time we do it, we're like, oh, look at these cool contraptions we made. But the fact that every game has a different feel is really neat. Even the base game, which is essentially just taking 2 cards, you give it to the next person, they pick one and give it back. That works, but the speed one works. The one where you're all stacking on one. Where you all play a card, almost like a trick-taking game, or when you're drafting. I just love how each one has a distinct, different feel, and it keeps the game from getting boring. Because you play the one round, and it's all right, let's move to the next round. Okay, in this round, we're all stacking on one tower. And in this one, you have cards. There's 3 cards on the table, and you take one of those cards and give it to that person, and that's the piece he has to add to the tower. That's just a neat concept. And again, there's obviously going to be skill differential in the game about stacking. If you're someone who has shaky hands and knock things over, this game probably isn't for you, despite all the cool things that I like about it. But if you do like these kind of dexterity games, this is honestly one of the best to come out in years. This is a worthy successor to Flick 'em Up. Now, Flick 'em Up is still amazing. I love it a lot. But this is another one I'm adding to my collection because, again, it works so well. It's fast, it's fun, it's entertaining. It can go up to 6 players. It moves quickly. People come by, they watch, they can jump into a game, and then the components are really high quality. I mean, you're going to be paying for it. But this beautiful box and the wooden components, you get something that you can keep for a long time, an heirloom of sorts, and it is a step above most dexterity games. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Junk Art, Dice Tower Judgment, into my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.